At 5, some confusion and frustration after the Trump administration announced it's going to pause a range of different federal grants and loans.
And late this afternoon, a federal judge temporarily blocked part of the president's plan. A group of states is already planning to sue to keep the funding in place. For Fox 12, Connor Hansen has more from New York.
After signing dozens of executive orders since being sworn in, President Trump's administration is now going after federal grants and loans. The Office of Management and Budget announced a pause on spending that doesn't go along with Trump's priorities.
So what does this pause mean? It means no more funding for illegal DEI programs. It means no more funding for the Green New scam that has cost American taxpayers tens of billions of dollars.
The White House says there is no pause on programs like Social Security, Medicare, food stamps, or student loans and scholarships. But the move created panic and confusion for groups that rely on the funds. Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy said his state's Medicaid payment system was turned off.
This is what a king does. This is not how a democracy works. One man does not decide how taxpayers' money is spent.
Republicans say it's about efficiency.
But this is not implemented yet. And I think that that's what the president is giving everybody fair warning, and then to figure out what's working and what's not working.
Congressional Democrats have scheduled an emergency meeting about the freeze, and several state attorneys general have announced plans to file lawsuits.
Courts have to intervene. This is no way to govern, and it's certainly no way to govern for people who are reliant on this help.
The Senate is scheduled to vote on President Trump's pick for budget chief later this week, but several Democrats now want a delay. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox 12, Oregon.
Again, a federal judge has blocked that action, at least temporarily. However, it did spark uncertainty among organizations that rely on federal funding.
Yeah, a lot of confusion tonight. Fox 12's McKenna Marks joins us now live from Salem after hearing from Governor Tina Kotek and Attorney General Dan Rayfield on how this plan could affect Oregonians. McKenna, what can you tell us?
Well, Governor Kotek and Attorney General Rayfield hosted a press conference earlier today in response to President Donald Trump's attempt to freeze some federal funding. Now, we know that a federal judge has since blocked that action, but it still leaves a lot of unanswered questions about who would and who would not be impacted. But for now, both Kotek and Rayfield say they plan on working together to protect Oregonians.
There's complete confusion right now from the Trump administration about what they're doing and what it means for Americans across the country.
In a 2-page memo sent out Monday night, the Office of Management and Budget announced that federal agencies must pause all disbursement of financial assistance while the Trump administration reviews each program to make sure it abides by the president's executive orders. But just minutes before President Donald Trump's federal funding freeze was set to go into effect on Tuesday, a federal judge temporarily blocked the action from moving forward. Despite the pause being delayed, according to Oregon Attorney General Dan Rayfield, both the Medicaid portal and the child support portal through the Department of Justice were down Tuesday morning before the freeze was scheduled to go into effect, sparking panic across the nation.
And it's another example of the Trump administration and its attempts to sow division and chaos for a political end.
In a follow-up memo, the OMB clarified that programs like Medicaid or Head Start will not lose their funding. The agency even went as far as saying that any program that provides assistance directly to individuals will not be affected by the pause. But after seeing the Medicaid portal down on Tuesday morning, both Kotek and Rayfield say they are unsure about what to expect moving forward. In the meantime, Kotek is reassuring Oregonians that they will still have access to their services, at least for now.
If you need medical care under the Oregon Health Plan, please keep your appointments. Please keep your care going forward. If you are a Head Start parent, your Head Start will be there tomorrow.
As a response to the president's plan, Rayfield and all the other Democratic attorneys general in the nation have filed a lawsuit against the Trump administration.
And when you exceed your powers, it is part of our responsibility on behalf of all Oregonians to hold the Trump administration accountable and the deal that they have made to ensure that these programs can be funded.
While it's still unclear if this freeze will move forward, Kotek says Oregon won't be changing its own laws or values anytime soon.
We are getting 1.5-page memos about you must stop all things. I'm not going to do anything until we know exactly what that means.
Again, a federal judge has temporarily blocked that order. That block is set to last until Monday. Live from Salem, McKenna Marks, Fox 12 Oregon.